Hi there, this is Janet Gershon-Siegel, and I'm the Lonely Writer. This is serious social media help for the independent author. The independent author is defined as being a writer who does not yet have an agent. All this month, I'm doing daily prompts for NaNoWriMo. The prompts are in kind of an interesting order, so please feel free to take them out of order as you desire. Otherwise, I think you're going to end up with kind of an incoherent storyline. Today's prompt is actually, this prompt could be used any day of the year, and it's certainly something that can be explored for a lot more than just one day, and that's gender swap. Now, what do we mean when we say that things are gender swapped? Is it just a question of, John versus Jane? Or is there something about temperament? Or if it's temperament, are we being sexist? So, there's kind of a question of like, and I'll talk about the Bechdel test at another time, but the Bechdel test is sort of this very low level test to see if women in a story have what seems to be any level of self-autonomy. And the fact that the Bechdel test has to exist for female characters and not for male should really tell you something. And so there's a lot of opportunity for characters that can change when we change genders. And some of that may have to do with historical storylines. If we are putting our story into the 1950s, then male opportunity is simply better than female. And that's all there is to it. And there's no getting around it. And I mean better, quote unquote, in the sense of things that are more interesting and also things that can make people more money. Probably the stuff that's more exciting tends to be the things that men do. This is not a sexist statement on my part. It's basically a statement of fact as to how things were a few decades ago. You get later, you come closer to today, and life is very different. And women have a lot more opportunities, and we're not seen as being the first woman to do this, the first one to do that. Although, obviously, when there is the first woman to do something or other, then people sit up and take notice. You go back way earlier to, say, medieval times. Well, childbirth was a death sentence for a lot of women. So life was extremely dangerous. And it was hard to get past your 30th birthday. And for a lot of people, it was hard to get past their 25th birthday. We like to think of, when kings and queens and castles and all that stuff, when we think of medieval times. But the truth is, most people were living in poverty from hand to mouth. And women, in particular, bore the brunt of that. Now, what about when a person is gender swapped? What happens when you change the gender of your character, one of your own characters? And one of the connotations could very well be that you're just plain out of story ideas. When you change Harry Potter to Henrietta Potter, I mean, if you were actually writing it, not that J.K. Rowling's listening to me, but if you were taking your character and you changed it from one gender to another, is that you're out of ideas, or is that you're trying to spur other ideas, get a fresh concept? In 2016, there was a lot of hullabaloo about creating and promoting an all-female version of Ghostbusters. And people were complaining that it was ruining their childhood and all that other stuff. And I gotta say, I never thought that the original film was that exciting. So I'm sort of looking at that and shrugging my shoulders and saying, I don't know, whatever. But be that as it may, it never mattered to me that those people who were fighting ghosts were male. It never did. And so maybe it also doesn't matter if women are doing that, because that's just different wedding tackle. Should we care, and should it matter? And I think that that's kind of starting to go away. But what does gender swapping mean to you? Finally, once again, this is Janet Gershon-Siegel, the Lonely Writer, because an independent writer never has to be alone. Thank you so much for listening. Please try to make your characters flesh and blood, three-dimensional, and not just cardboard, and not just a sexist trope, okay? Thanks for listening, and good luck with NaNoWriMo.